Hello everybody and welcome to this week's episode of Goals Do Come True with me, Doug Bennett. Today I am joined by Nicky Marshall. She is absolutely fabulous. We met at a conference, hit it off right away. She's got some amazing tales to tell. She's an author, a speaker, a director of Discover Your Bounce Group, and they specialise in well-being and book publishing. So we'll touch on that, find out what that's all about. She's written her own book, well, probably more than one, I think. But one is a very, very special tale of some trials and tribulations she went through earlier on in her life. And it's an amazing story. So I'm not going to steal her thunder in that respect. I'm going to hand over to Nicky. Nicky, thank you very much for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you on board. Tell us about yourself and your relationship with Coast Guards.
Oh, that sounds a little bit intriguing, doesn't it? Yeah, thanks, Doug. It was great to meet. Gosh, a few months ago now. But yes, I was rescued by the Coast Guard. So a big shout out to the RNLI and the Coast Guard and everything they do. So, 2010, I had started a new business. It had been on my vision board. It had been my goal to have this business. This was my dream business. And we were 12 weeks in. I'd been working 80 to 90 hours a week. I'd been sleeping about 4 hours a night. Not really eating much except coffee and cake, because it was a coffee shop with a holistic centre, but the focus was well-being. So the irony is not lost on me when I am telling this story, as Doug will know, because he very kindly read my book. And yes, we'd gone away for a long weekend to relax, to have some fun, to chill out. So we went scuba diving, which had been my husband and I's hobby for years. He was an instructor, I was an assistant instructor, both qualified to 50 metres or whatever, so very well capable of doing what we were doing that weekend. But it seemed that my body wasn't. I think I was overwhelmed, tired, stressed. I think my blood pressure had gone up. My cholesterol had certainly gone up, and I hadn't noticed that. So after 2 dives, I became very unwell. Long story short, we had a GP on the dive with us who, rang Diver Diseases Research Centre down in Plymouth. The Coast Guard just happened to arrive. That wasn't planned in any way. They just happened to see people on the quay and decided to come say hi. So someone upstairs was very much looking after me that day, I think. Rescued by Coast Guard, checked out by Harbour Master, sent immediately by ambulance to hospital because they thought I'd punctured my lung, which I hadn't, thankfully. That was a bit of good news. But instead sent me to the Diver Diseases Research Centre, and they diagnosed a musculoskeletal and cerebral bend. So I had the bends in my lungs, my shoulder and my brain. And what I didn't know at the time was that cerebral bend had caused a stroke.
There we go. That's a bit of a battering, wasn't it? So, yeah, the good news that the Coast Guard was there, because, so many other little different things could have happened as a result of that. But, our greater power, whoever that may be, was looking after you.
Definitely, because the thing with the bends is you need oxygen very quickly to, stop any of the symptoms getting worse. And at the DDLC, I had 14 hours of recompression, but the oxygen in the ambulance on the way definitely helped my condition. So, yes, thank goodness the Coast Guard was there, because we had dive boats with us, but they were very short, kind of little ribs, and I had breathing problems, couldn't breathe if I bent forward. So, the journey would have been a lot worse if we hadn't had Coast Guards there. So yes, hooray for them.
Okay, I mean, I have read your book, and it is, it's an inspiring book and a good read, and we'll make sure that there's a link to it in the show notes. But you've moved on past that, because a stroke and the other aspects of the health sort of really battered you a bit on things and sort of made you redefine your life, I think. So you can tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, because at the time after the bends, I couldn't use my arm. I couldn't lift anything with my left arm, had no feeling in my left hand, couldn't feel my left leg, so I could stand on it, but I didn't know that it was holding my weight. So from a confidence perspective and, walking across busy roads and things like that, I had the mind monkeys going on, you're going to fall, you're going to trip. My confidence was affected, my speech, my memory was affected. So it was quite a severe thing. And there was a point just after the diagnosis where I just pulled the curtains, shut the blinds, sat on the floor and said, I'm done, I'm absolutely done. So I'm a bit stubborn, to be honest, Doug. I couldn't sit there for long. After 2 days, I was like, hang on a minute. So I kind of realised that all that well-being, I've got A-levels in anatomy and physiology, got a reflexology qualification. I know the body heals itself. So I had to become my best student, got myself fit and well. I say that, but it was a 3-year journey. It didn't just happen overnight. And I had a personal trainer who was an ex-Marine. Never do that. It's ridiculous. That's the part where I just don't do that. There are personal trainers out there that smile. That's the one you want. But yeah, so closed the coffee shop, sold it after 2.5 years. So once I felt fit and well, realised that actually, although it had been my goal, it hadn't delivered some of the key things that were important to me. Like I wasn't able to travel the way I love. We've been talking about travelling. I wasn't able to travel. It was a 6-day-a-week premises job, and some of the things that I had to do took me away from mentoring and helping people with their health and well-being. So although it was the dream that I'd pinned my hopes on, it wasn't delivering sort of 3 years later. So that's when Discover Your Bounce was born, because people kept saying to me, "You look really bouncy, you look like Tigger." And I kept saying, "Yeah, I think I found my bounce, I've got my bounce back." And then one day I thought, Discover Your Bounce, what a good name for a business, because it does answer, people ask that question. Oh, that's interesting. What do you do then?
And that's a good thing, but I think you had this goal. And that's so very often the case. We go after a goal, and the important thing was that you mentioned there, 60, 80 hours a week. It was taking you away from the other things that you were doing or wanted to do. I know the scuba diving was a big thing in your life, and obviously that was affected by this situation, the medical situation. But sometimes, when you hit the goal, what do they say? The ladder of success, you've got to make sure it's leaning against the right wall as you're climbing it. And there's no harm in climbing it, finding it's on the wrong wall, coming back down and finding a different wall to go for. So, there's no harm. It's not a failure. It's never a failure, that sort of thing, if you find that, the goal that you've been spending, all of the hours doing, all of the time doing, and it happens to be the wrong thing, it's not the end of the world.
No, and it's funny, I think you take elements from everything you do in your life. I started off working in a bank and trained to be an accountant, but there was a lot of customer service involved in that. And so when I then went into the coffee shop and wellbeing centre, customer service is a massive part. And within Discover Your Bounce, we always look at the experience of that customer. So, all these elements and running what I called it my grown-up business, because we have premises, you have to get, insurance and do all your food hygiene and all that kind of stuff. But it grows you as a person, and it gives you that confidence to say, well, I can run, a grown-up business. So you never lose anything. So even if you do find it was the wrong wall, I've still got friends from back then, I've still got customers from then. I learned so much. I learned about branding and social media, and there are so many elements that you then take with you. So when you do find the right wall, you can put things together quickly because you've already done that and got that experience. So yeah, you don't lose anything, do you?
No, I mean, and well, the other thing is that you can lose things. You can lose things that you've tried that don't work.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Kinds, but it's not a lamenting that lamenting the thing that you haven't got anymore. It's taking the elements that you do want, and then, as you said, going, no, I really don't want that 6 days a week in the premises. That just doesn't suit. It suits some personalities. It doesn't suit mine.
No. Now you're back. Am I right? Scuba diving.
Yes, after the 3 years, part of the kind of recovery was getting my dive medical back. So the consultant said that I wouldn't ever make a full recovery. How I was in 18 months is how I'd be forever. I thought forever was quite a strong word, and that I would never dive again. Like, those were his words. But as I said, stubborn. And I remember, through a lot of my anatomy and physiology, the cells in your body renew. Every 7 years, we are a different person because every cell regenerates. Our eyes regenerate every 2 hours. It's just that the new cells have the memory of the old cells. That's why we stay short-sighted. There is actually, I have improved my eyesight over the years as well by just repeating, I have perfect vision every 5 minutes. Not quite 5 minutes. Yeah, so the cells renew. So I knew that. So I was like, I am going to dive again. My husband just went, cool. Didn't, none of us knew how. But yeah, personal trainer, reducing my blood pressure, reducing my cholesterol, less wine. Now it's no wine, but at the time it was just a bit less wine, less chocolate, more health, more rest. and all that kind of thing. So it was just about finding out the elements that I needed to be well and, you know, putting those into place. So yeah, when I got that medical, and I didn't just get it to renew every year, I've got, you know, I can dive forever. I've got like a full pardon, as it were.
And that is amazing, because delve into it more in your book, and it's like, right, okay, that's perseverance. That's, yeah, I've got a goal. I found the fact that your body rejuvenates itself in that time frame, and the fact that you improved the bits of you that weren't working properly. This is the thing about your mind, and you know, there's going to be some people out there going a little bit, oh, it's a little bit woo-woo, right? No, surely you can't do that. But actually, I'm hearing more and more and more stories and tales as I'm interviewing people of, you know, things that happen, and you go, holy crap, is that really, really possible? And it is, and that's the madness of it. So, you know, there's so much our brain can do, and it's crazy. Were you going to add something?
Just to say, if you don't want it to be woo, if you want the science, the book that changed my life was called How Your Mind Can Heal Your Body by Dr. David Hamilton. And yeah, he's a fully fledged doctor. He used to work in I think it was a biology lab. I think that's his kind of credentials, and was totally miserable doing what he did, and just decided to change his life. He's a Hay House writer now. His latest book is called Why Woo Works. Bit of a tongue twister, but it explains the science behind everything that people think is woo. And yeah, you can, you know, by visualization, I imagined a spider web going down my arm, you know, like a Spider-Man kind of web. But in the gym, my left side is stronger than my right now. So, you know, you have to try it yourself, and you have to see that it works, and you have to prove to yourself that these things work. You know, don't just take my word for it, try something. And the eyesight thing, I've had other people say they've gone to the optician a year later. My optician said that the back of my eyes are so good, they're 10 years younger than I am. And he was this 25-year-old guy that kind of looked at me a bit funny. I said, oh, is there something wrong? He said, well, yeah, but it's a good thing. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, your mum, you know, you've got glaucoma and high blood pressure and cataracts in the history, you know, of the family. Your eyes should not look the way they're looking. They're younger than you are. I was like, oh, cool. Well, I've been doing this mantra, and that was when I lost him.
Yeah. Youth of today, they just don't get it. They'll get there eventually. I think actually more and more of them are sort of, you know, taking it in, which is not a bad thing in that respect. So, I mean, this is a goal-setting, Goals Do Come True podcast. But there's some incredible goals that we've mentioned already. You know, the fact that from you'll never dive again to having your full license back, that is amazing. For your eyesight improving, for your arm being stronger than, you know, the other arm having been virtually useless. I mean, so how do you manifest, I guess, and also you have mantras, which is, you know, telling yourself stuff. What else do you use in your goal setting that is relatively straightforward to use, or actually is the most impactful thing that you've come across that we haven't discussed already? New stuff,
absolutely. Well, I think with goals, you have to be able to see it and feel it, and people do that differently. You know, I know you write a lot. You know, you write a lot of your goals down, don't you, from our conversations? I'm quite a visual person, so if I'm trying to, you know, if we're decorating a room and my husband says it's going to be, you know, grey walls here and this is going to, I can't see it. I can't see it in my mind. I have to see something. So if he shows me a picture and says, well, it's going to be kind of like this, you know, this bit here, and I can piece it together. So vision boards for me are my thing. So quite often I will, you know, do a vision board. I usually only do them for a year, because I quite like every year kind of changing around my birthday, just sort of looking at, is that still fresh for me? And yeah, sometimes things happen in a really linear way, other times. So my business partner put this pair of really high-heeled sort of butterfly sparkly shoes on her vision board. They were sort of this reddy pinky colour, and she's got health conditions. She can't actually wear high heels anymore, so she was like, I don't know why, but I just wanted them. Anyway, well, over the years, as I was a speaker at the time. She wasn't really. I didn't know that. We did our first event, and afterwards she said, "Oh, I've never done that before." I thought you were a speaker. She said, "No, I never. No." Okay. But over the years, she's become known for her red shoes. So whenever we go to speak, she wears red shoes on the stage, and she says things like, well, hopefully what I've got to say is of use to you, but if not, you can look at my really nice shoes. So actually shoes have become her thing. So vision boards don't necessarily come true in the way that, that you want,
It's
in
not
a linear
obvious.
fashion.
Yeah, it's not obvious sometimes.
No,
Yeah.
the universe gives you what you need, not what you want. So,
Yeah.
but I've always used that. So I always put this or better on a vision board, because maybe you don't know, there could be something better out there for you that you haven't discovered yet. So I always put this or better on the top. I always put within 1 year, because that I'll be happy when doesn't, or one day, a year. And I always put thank you on it. Thank you for all these amazing things that are on their way to me, and thank you for the life I already have, because quite often I've noticed that I've already got a tiny bit of the vision that I'm looking for. I might not have just noticed it yet. Someone asked me this year about what I wanted. I said, all the elements are there, I just want to make them bigger.
Yeah.
But when I left the coffee shop, I didn't want to be working in one place. I wanted a business that would work from anywhere. I wanted to work hours that suited me, and I wanted to be able to be around my family. And actually, Discover Your Bounce has delivered all of that. And it's only been I got interviewed for a magazine a couple of weeks ago, and it was only then that I realised all the things I wanted back when I closed that business, I now have all the elements. So a vision board, it just is that you need to be able to look at it. You need those elements on it, and I get really excited about things. So sometimes I will just write something down. I think it was 2015, I wrote, I am an international author and speaker. And I wasn't. I am now.
Yes. And that's the other thing. You wrote it as if it had already happened. And that's one of my big things is write. There's so many bits in my little notebook that I use to write my goals down that, it's like, at the time, that was never, ever, ever, ever going to happen. There was the seeds. That's the point. And I think that's it. There's the capability of something. And I like that. But I tell you what I love is the or better. I just love that. Because that makes everything, just every single goal, if you go or better on it, it's like, who knows where that could end up?
Yeah.
That's the crazy.
If you want a certain type of car, the company might be just about to release a better model, an upgraded model. So if you say I want a, Mini 1.6 Cooper S, whatever, there might be an S Plus coming out and you don't know it. I don't think there is an S Plus, but you get the thing. So
we get the idea. No,
we wish, we wish with what we know at the time, and there could be more out there. So that or better, it's definitely served me well.
I like that. So how many books have you written now? You personally, and then you've got your side business where you help people write their books. Is that right?
Yeah, so I've written 2 solo books, 2 books with my business partner, and then I think it's another 12. I've written chapters in someone else's book, or it's a collaboration book where I've gathered authors together. So I think I'm up to, it's either 16 or 17, and I have actually lost count because of the chapters. But I mean, the main books, Rescued by the Coast Guard and Tabby Turns the Tables, those are my 2 main books. Tabby Turns the Table is a fiction about someone who was unhappily married with 2 children, working in a bank, training to be an accountant, and discovered she was a psychic. I don't know who I based it on, Doug. I've got no idea about that.
Really? Really? Don't you see that person in the mirror on occasion? Maybe?
There is a resemblance, I feel. Yes.
Right.
Yes. And both books are on Kindle, on Kindle for just 99p at the moment. Because of the article coming out, I decided to go crazy and reduce them.
Oh, that makes sense. That will get you best-selling author when that goes out. So that's good. Well, Amazon #1 bestseller. That's the way to do it, I think, apparently.
Yeah. If I talk about it, but I'm so busy launching other people's books, because other people's books, I think we're up to 17 this month. So not only did I become an author and speaker, but then one of my clients said, would I publish her book? I said no originally, and she said, well, you've published yours, why can't you publish mine? And she was quite persistent, said she would wait. And so we did that. And then over lockdown, obviously, more people. I think last year, 200 million books were sold last year because people are writing books and reading more. So, yeah, it's a good time to be in publishing. I just love it. Love, helping people to do that.
No, that's good. I'm just thinking, I had a train of thought on it, but it's gone.
I waffled, I'm sorry.
No, it was something. It's okay, the team will edit, I hope. Next stuff. Right, so you visualize stuff. You do a bit of writing down on the goal side of things. Okay. I think it was something to do with the helping people with their books. And the fact that you didn't have time for that person and that they said that they would wait for you.
Yeah.
And isn't that crazy sometimes? I know what it is I was going to say. When people say to me, Doug, would you like to? At that point, I say yes. Because I don't know what's coming, but, why not?
Yeah.
You can load yourself up with stuff, but I think there's so many exciting opportunities out there that, people say to me, would you like to? Now what is it you would like me to do? Like to write in a book, or would you like to bungee jump? Sometimes I might be a bit scared about that. I haven't bungee jumped yet, but most people that we mix ourselves with probably aren't as exciting as we are. Is that fair to say?
See, I say yes to a lot of things, but it is funny that when things are really big, when things are a really big part of my life, I sometimes say no. So when I trained in Reiki, I did Reiki 1 and 2, which is so that you can, do Reiki treatments for other people. Reiki 3 is to be able to teach it. And I did 1 and I did 2, and I was working within a holistic therapy centre, and one of my colleagues said to me, oh, when are you doing Reiki 3? I would love to learn Reiki from you. And I said, oh no, I'm not doing Reiki 3, I won't be doing that. And she said, oh, it's okay, I'll wait. And that really stuck. And I was like, well, we've been waiting a long time. Here's the person I learned from. This is Jonathan. You need to go and talk to him. She said, no, I'll wait. And sure enough, after a while, he got back in touch and said there was someone else doing Reiki 3 and there was a space. Did I want to do it? And it was so far down the line that actually for me, it was the right time. And that allowed me to learn how to teach, which has served me so well over the years. So sometimes I find we were in Chamonix and we were skiing, but all of our party were doing paragliding, so they were running off of the mountain next to Mont Blanc with this little piece of, I don't know, paper it seemed like over their head, and I just said no, I'm not doing that. Now I did have a fear of heights that I was overcoming with skiing. I'd already had some hypnotherapy, but it just felt too big, and it was just a flat no. And that morning my husband said, if you want to come, you are more than welcome, but I'm not going to ask you again. And it was just thinking about when they've done what they need to do and they all come back down, they're going to be all excited and buzzing and happy about it. And I know Phil won't do it again. He does things once and then he's on to the next thing. So knew there wouldn't be another opportunity. I couldn't go the next day because he'd be like, oh, I've done that. So it's like, am I going to have that fear of missing out? Because sometimes we have the joy of missing out, don't we? No, I really don't want to do that. But I knew I was going to have the fear of missing out. I knew I would wish I'd done it. So I did it, and it was the most incredible feeling. And I no longer have a fear of heights. I think in that moment, I was like, if you can run off a mountain, with an instructor and this piece of, I'm sure you said silk, but it felt like paper. Then I think I'm over my fear of heights at that point. But yeah, it's really funny. I say yes to a lot of things, but when it's a really big part of my journey and it's sort of pivotal, I tend to say no first. And people say, well, I'll wait then. So if someone says I'll wait, I know, I'm like, oh, this is a really big thing, right? I need to go and think about this.
Yeah, I need to be embracing this, because obviously they can see something more in me than I can see it in myself at that point.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's important as well for people. Okay, well, that's cool. I like that. Now, Reiki, that's a bit woo-woo, isn't it? I've got sort of like waving hands over you, and somebody was saying, oh, we can do distance Reiki, and I'm going, what, really? Okay, so explain for a Neanderthal, right, what Reiki is.
So I'll go back a little way. So when my daughter was a baby, if she was teething or she'd hurt herself or she wasn't very well, I would always imagine white light coming out of my hands, making her feel better. I just did that when she was little. And I remember my dad, when I was younger, if I ever had an exam or when I got married, he used to take my hand and say, take some of my strength, Nicky. Always did that. If ever you ask my dad how he is, he always says, brilliant. He's 83. Brilliant. How are you? Amazing guy. I did all this spiritual stuff and then realised that my dad had it nailed, really. So I always used to do this white light thing. And someone said to me years ago, you must have healing hands then. I'm like, I have no idea what that is. And then I went to Ibiza on holiday with the kids. This lady sat next to me with her 2 children. She'd taken her kids away on her own for the first time. She's a single mum, a little bit terrified being on her own. So I was showing her where the kids club was and, how to get a coffee and all this sort of stuff, because we've been there a few days. You feel like really nonchalant because you've been there, the deal. And we got chatting and I said, what do you do? We do that, don't you? What do you do? Very British. And she said, I'm a Reiki master. And I said, I have no idea what that is. And she said, well, Reiki is a Japanese healing art and philosophy. So there are Japanese Buddhists and Reiki. There's a story behind, I won't go into the whole story. I don't know if I can remember the whole story, it's been a while. But yeah, Dr. Asui, got the symbols from Reiki and was able to heal with his hands from then on. So the idea is you channel the energy of the universe, so source, universal energy, whatever you want to call it, comes through you to the person. So it isn't you that does the healing, you're just directing where the energy goes. And when you do distant Reiki, you tune into the person, I sometimes say their higher self, and you kind of get permission. Or someone might say to you over the phone, I've got this really bad back, and you say, would you like me to send you some Reiki? And they say, yes, please. But if they don't say yes, please, you kind of have to check, and you have to sort of highest good of all kind of thing. You're not trying to manipulate anyone, feel better so you can go into work and give me a pay rise. That doesn't work. Experience. Not that I would try that. But to do distant Reiki, there are symbols that you learned, and they used to be secret before the internet, but obviously the internet doesn't keep anything secret. So now anyone can find the symbols, but there's a series of, a system of using these symbols to connect with that person and then send the healing. And it works on mind, body and spirit. So, physical things. My dad's had migraines, and I've got rid of migraines. He thought it was brilliant. Yeah, if people are struggling, if they want some confidence, you can actually set Reiki up for 3:00 on a Friday afternoon when someone has an interview. You can be that specific with it. There are so many ways. But Reiki 1 and Reiki 3, the Reiki that comes through is the same. People say that, as you do more Reiki, you get more powerful. I disagree. I think energy is energy, and you just learn more tools and more ways of using it. But yeah, I've used it myself. I use it most days on myself. I don't actually practice Reiki. I don't teach Reiki anymore because of Discover Your Bounce has kind of taken its own, taken a life of its own, I would say. But it is amazing. I still do. Yeah, if ever I hurt myself, or if ever someone says, whatever, then Reiki is the first thing I offer.
Wow, I need to Google it. Not that so that I can use it for myself, but to just have a greater understanding. And I'm sure there's people out there sort of, it's again back to the woo-woo. Yeah,
and again, people Reiki is being given in hospitals now, so it has come
almost at last, really.
Yeah, because if nothing else, it gives the body the energy so that it can heal itself. That's what I think. I think we are all able to heal ourselves. I'm not saying it works all the time, because there are things that I haven't.
It can't do. Yeah.
Yeah. It frustrates me. I still can't tell my left from my right. I'm sure.
There are worse things, to worry about. Okay, no, so that I like that. Have a look at that sort of thing. Now, I'm going to ask, because we've drifted a little way away from goals and goal setting, but I'm going to ask for a Nicky Marshall nugget about goals and goal setting that we haven't touched on before, that the whole world needs to know? It's going to make a difference to their lives.
Wow, gosh, that's a big one, Doug. What would make a difference? I think seeing life as an adventure allows you to be very playful with the things that you want to get, because whenever I get serious, life, all the goals don't come. You know, the goals that have come to me are those ones that I thought were impossible, but when I was in that sort of playful, oh, wouldn't that be amazing if that happened? So another example, I was given a bracelet. You won't be able to see it on here, but my husband bought this bracelet for me. It's got rocks on it, and horses for healing, and arrows for direction, and bears for strength. It was made by, an American Indian. He brought it home, just incredible. I looked at these rocks, and I don't know what those are. And someone said, oh, those are red rocks from Sedona. Like, where's that? Arizona. Cool. They said, you're going to go there. I said, oh, I don't think so. I think, I just moved in with Phil at the time. We were boyfriend and girlfriend, just started moving, living together. I had 2 girls, he had 2 boys, still, trying to organise, very busy life, cats, all this stuff. And one day this conference came up in Phoenix in Arizona, which was near Sedona. He said, you should go. A million reasons why not. Again, no. He said, I'll look after the kids. That's right, okay. How am I going to fund it? He said, have you got a credit card? Now, he is Mr. Sensible. Like, he would never put a holiday on a credit card. If you've got a credit card, why don't you put it on a credit card? I'm like, so I booked it. 2 things I was afraid of were losing my suitcase and missing my connecting flight. Both happened. I survived. It was okay. And as I stood in Sedona, having the most amazing experience, I said, I'm going to bring people here. I'm going to bring people here on retreat. And then, you give it about 3 seconds and there's that other voice. Like negative Nicky was on my shoulder going, you've got a shit sense of direction. You don't know anyone who'd want to come to Sedona anyway. No one really knows what this place is about. You've never run retreats. What? A million questions. And I just thought, gonna do it. The next year I took a friend and retreated her as a practice. And the following year I took 6 people out to Sedona. I think it was 8 the following year, and just did that for a while. So I think the more impossible you think something is, if you're in that playful energy, the more likely you are to actually make it happen.
And that's why I saved that question. I don't give them a clue that it's coming, because we always get something amazing. So be playful. No, be playful. That's the thing, Life is for living and loving and enjoying and adventure and, but I think that's the only way to live life.
I think, the last few years we've had so many changes, and you can look at all the things that we haven't been able to do, and, or you can look at the things that you thought were important at the time, family, getting outside in nature, I don't think people really missed their Porsche, to be honest. I think it was more about the sort of touchy-feely stuff. And actually, all the technology has changed. The world is this big jumble at the moment, and you could get onto the negative of, we're all doomed. There are a lot of people saying that right now. Or you could go, well, what an exciting time to grab the elements that I love and see if I can do more of those. And that's definitely what I'm looking at the moment, is what can I do more of? And so, I've put together a new keynote, and I haven't written it completely yet, but I got the opportunity to speak to a group of accountants in Africa next week, and I said yes. And I've got this new keynote, gave them the title, and in this presentation you will learn X, Y, and Z, and I'm just going to put it out there and see what happens.
Absolutely. Are you going, or is it Zoomy?
Sadly, it's Zoomy, but
well.
Never mind.
But then they'll want the real energy, and they'll invite you over for next year.
Yeah, who knows?
When we're allowed to go. That's the thing about it. Well, no, that's really, really cool. Now, how can people get hold of you? What can you do for people, and how can they get hold of you?
So we have a website, which is discoveryourbounce.com, and it's got all the personal wellbeing, corporate wellbeing, and publishing all in one place. It's all color coded, so you can tell which bit you're on. Which our designer was quite clever. I thought the colouring in department did a good job. LinkedIn, and there we have 2 communities on Facebook. There's Discover Your Bounce community if you like well-being, positivity kind of stuff, and Bouncy Books if you're a book lover and you want to talk about books. As I say, the books are on Kindle, but if you Google Nicky Marshall author, I think there is a Nicky Marshall football player, but I think I'm the only author on Amazon, so under that. So yeah, have a
hunt down, spend £2, help Nicky hit the #1 bestseller thing. The book, Rescued by the Coast Guard.
Rescued by the Coast Guard, yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. It's a good story. So, well, no, it's not a story. It's a good tale. No, it's a good section of Nicky's life that we can all learn from.
Yeah, I think we can call it an autobiography. I think.
Yes, I think so. Yeah. Because there's real youngsters that have got autobiographies and they've not done anything yet. So
yeah, I'm going to write about 3. I think.
Good.
I reckon.
Good. That's the answer. Nicky, we'll make sure that all of those bits and pieces are contained in the show notes. It's been a pleasure catching up with you again. It was I don't know 2 or 3 months ago that we bumped into each other, went through this conference, and yeah, it was cool. And it's been tough getting hold of you, so I appreciate it. But you sort of, I think you gave me the I'll wait. No, I gave you I'll wait. Yeah, because I was prepared to wait.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I couldn't fit in, could I, in May? I'll wait. Yeah, that's true. So
there you go. See,
meant to be.
She's got this incredible power. Nicky, thank you very much for joining me.
Pleasure, Doug. Thank you.